Hello, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, you all, and welcome to PC Division R this race weekend. We are headed to the lovely circuit Spa-Francorchamps here. Only a couple minutes to go before we get on with this Division Reserve race. I can totally speak English. And now you'll notice in this pre-show bit, we are showing some of the other leaderboards from around the league after race weekend number one. Of course, most of these are posted before the final stewards' decisions were coming through, so there are some provisional results on there. However, there shouldn't be too many adjustments around. Now, of course, there's been another update to the game. In the meantime, there's the 1.08 update, which has allowed the tire temperature issue that was being experienced with the formation lap to somewhat be fixed, it appears. So we are doing a test run in PC Division R here with the broadcast formation lap appears to give everybody tire temperatures. Now that does have a knock-on effect of a very short time for the fastest lap on the first lap. There's a bit of a bug there, but we are also testing some telemetry. So we haven't fully made the decision yet. It's not as impactful here in Division R, but it is a possibility that the fastest lap point may be off the table for the rest of the divisions if the telemetry system that we're checking on doesn't work quite as we need it to. So stick around, we will see that, but we will have a formation lap for the race. There are a couple new graphics that we're going to be testing as well over this one. It looks like the lobby is just about getting filled in with a lot of our drivers in unique seats, not their normal teams' positions. So you will see some familiar names in some different teams this time around. So this doesn't apply to the overall teams championship, but it definitely is an opportunity for some good racing around here, and definitely an opportunity for drivers in the PC divisions and even those in Xbox who have the game on PC like Belly to do some strategy testing around here. So setup and strategy testing is going to be definitely interesting around Spa-Francorchamps. A very long, high-speed track, plenty of straight line around this one. So we'll see what kind of wing setups people opt for. There is of course the word rustling around the paddock of a 0-0 wing strategy. So basically no downforce, very much like you saw the race in the real-life 2019 race around Spa, where Ferrari was just an absolute monster on the straights. Mercedes, with that extra downforce, would catch up through the second sector but not have an opportunity to really make an overtake stick. And then Ferrari would just gallop off with the straight line speed once again. So we may see that. May see some drivers testing that straight line speed. Definitely can help down the Kemmel Straight with your best overtaking opportunity being down into that chicane. Of course, we are trying to test the new formation lap and hopefully give people some better warmed up tires down into turn one. Now, last week in Spain, of course, we ran with no formation lap for most divisions, as there was an issue where only the host would have warmed up tires after a formation lap and everybody else was on ice cold. We found that with no formation lap, everybody started on ice cold tires. Now, that did lead to some shambles in a few divisions. PlayStation Division 1 lost 4 drivers because of it before they even made it past the start-finish lights. And so we are trying to see if that'll work. Obviously, Spain had a bit longer of a run down into turns one, so once you got the traction down, you had at least enough of a run up to try and get the tires warmed up. And I'm just seeing that I have a missed icon on the graphic. Don't pay attention to that. I'll fix that later. And so there was more time to line up or get the front tires at least heated up to the temperatures that you need. And then get on the brakes here. Very, very short run down into turn one. So definitely a lot riskier to run with those very, very cold tires. The car just doesn't really turn. We are just about ready to get underway. The drivers have all readied up, and we are going to get ready to head to our qualifying session. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the FRS Season 6. We are kicking off the second race weekend with PC Division R. We are here in Spa-Francorchamps in beautiful Belgium. And it is the sixth time that the Belgian Grand Prix has featured. It's been a part of all 6 FRS seasons. Now let's take a look at the longest track on the calendar, 7 kilometers in length, 19 corners through the forest, has those 2 DRS zones, one down into turn 1, one down into turn 5. Those are your best overtaking opportunities around this circuit with massive elevation changes. Drivers will reach their highest top speeds of the season, over 210 miles an hour down into the Lake Home chicane. But the first action zone here is turn 1, of course, the tight hairpin of La Source. So we will see how drivers can get off the line, sort their way out through there. And of course, you make the big run up the Kemmel Straight into the next best overtaking opportunity, the Lake Home chicane. That right, left, right. Plenty of opportunity to battle side by side for this one. We'll take a look now at the tires. Of course, the soft, medium, and hard. You see the mediums are about 0.7 of a lap slower than the softs. The hards about 1.4. Tire life, a big issue in this 22-lap race. Softs only going about 6 laps. Mediums 11. The hards will get you about 15 laps into this race. So we will see what kind of tire strategy is likely going to see a medium to hard compound strategy. But now let's get into the game as the drivers are just now getting on their outlaps. Let's go ahead and get the track map up, and we will get rid of all this UI and spectator menu. It looks like one of the Aston Martins is furthest around the track. It is not this man, Charlie Chibbles. It is this man, FRS Elliott, on the soft compounded tires in that dark green race car there. So we should see a good lap getting set up, as it is a much longer outlap around here. There still is about enough time in this 18-minute qualifying session to get 3 qualifying runs in. That will leave you with just 1 set of fresh soft tires for the race if you do that. Of course, everybody's set to the same tire allocation around the track this time. So typically you are going to see drivers have 1 set of fresh softs and, of course, 1 set of mediums and 1 set of hards available. So early safety cars can cause some strategy issues on this one. So FRS Elliott about to wind up and go for the first flying lap of this session. We'll take a look as he barrels down into turn 1 with the new speedometer graphic. Actually, we need to inch that up. We're still testing some of these new graphics. Just want to get this out of the way of the track map there. That looks much, much better as he carries speed over 300 kilometers an hour down as he opens up the DRS. And you can see picking up tons of speed and just on about 210 miles an hour now, 211. So I would estimate that Elliott is indeed running a very low wing setup on this one as they come through the next sector. We'll bring up the lap data here. And we will keep an eye out and see how they are as they manage their way through this tricky second sector. Plenty of issues where you need that downforce. That's really where you're going to lose the time. There are some yellow flags around the track, it would appear. Looks like somebody has lost it out of Radion, and then just some cars going a little bit slowly. Elliott, though, coming up about to catch some of the other drivers. It looks like there's a red dot, a Ferrari coming through this final set of chicanes here into Stavolo. Get the car braked and turn. It's a very bumpy entry to that corner, easy to understeer and run wide, and of course plenty of tire temperature generated in that flat out right here. Just a little bit too close to the right side. That's going to cost them a little bit of momentum as they go down. Flip through Blanchimont, the flat out left-hander, and now finding the braking point as they get ready to set up for their lap time. Is that Ferrari moving out of the way? That's going to compromise their start to the flying lap as they cross the line, set the first lap time of the day, a 1:44.299. Now we should see drivers going down, I would say, into the 43s at some point here. We will try and grab the next, I believe that is not Dog. We are just trying to grab Zados, who is coming through the final chicane. They're going to be the next across the line. The DRS opens up and they cross the line, go second fastest, a 44.5. Next up is one of the Alpines. Gali goes P2 overall. We'll grab Charlie Chibbles next, who is coming through the final chicane. Has gone a couple seconds faster through the second sector split, it would appear. Should be on, yes, 43.4, so a big improvement there to take over provisional pole at this moment. Next up is the McLaren of Coral goes 4th. Blackbird goes 6th overall, as the next few cars are all shuffling through the final chicane. D-Lee goes 7th on a 46.9. Nordy's going to be next across the line, goes provisionally 6th and moves up the timing tower. Stark goes onto a 44.2, but Spike quickly jumping up to the top of the timing towers there in the Alpine, 43.400. Next up, I believe it is Tez, who has invalidated their lap time, so we'll jump off of them and go to Renovatio, who is also invalidated and is on their way. Tez actually disqualified, trying to go the wrong way back into the pit lane, so not going to be able to set a fast lap. I believe Dog should be next coming through Blanchimont here. Not a very quick time for them, it would appear. I'm just trying to check on some of my telemetry data. It doesn't appear to be forwarding quite properly, but we do have Riemann in trying to grab a second set of telemetry. But Dog is into the pit lane. We will see, I believe Kane is the next Ferrari out on track. Seems to be on a slow lap, not putting in the top speeds, but it looks like most everybody is going to have their first lap time set already. Kovacs, the only one on an out lap, so we will grab them next as they are getting warmed up. False Tax actually on a fly. Are they on a flyer or are they on an in lap? Lights are off, but they are on an in lap, so coming in. We will grab Kovacs as they get warmed up. They're the last driver to attempt to set a fast lap. A few drivers have gone and invalidated their laps already in this one. So as they work their way through the high-speed corner of Pouan, just getting the tires warmed up to temperature. It looks like Space Ghost is out on track for another out lap, as is, it looks like Kane has gone for potentially a flyer. We'll keep an eye on their progress on the track map to see how they do, but Kovacs working through the last couple of corners, and there is yellow flag, so I believe that is Kane going slowly, unable to improve there. Otherwise, it looks like Lazzo still on an in-lap. So the only other drivers out on the course, as all of the top 12 at the moment are in the pit lane. We should see them start to filter out relatively shortly. You need to get going in the next couple of seconds, 30 seconds or so, to get ready for that second flying lap now. Here comes Kovacs. We will go ahead and jump on board and see how they make their way through. DRS open. They hold 7th. They take the shift up into 8th gear. Some drivers opting to hold 7th down into turn 1. Ooh, big snap of oversteer that they catch, though. Getting the throttle down, definitely going to cost them a couple of tenths, but with no lap time yet on the board, definitely worth carrying on around this one. Up, Eau Rouge and Radion here. Keeps it nice and cozy, and now the straight line speed as the DRS opens, 325 kilometers an hour already beyond it, 212 miles an hour. We don't have a forecast for the race just yet. Oh, big snap of oversteer, and that is going to take them outside of the track limits, and that is going to cost them their potential lap time. We'll jump down to Space Ghost instead, who is coming up Eau Rouge and Radion on a hot lap of their own. We thank Riemann for his development of the graphics. There are some other ones coming up for the race, ones that are not quite so useful in qualifying. The Space Ghost just kind of working their way through that right-hander, running a little bit wide. That should cost them a couple of tenths. The car already dirty, so it looks like Space Ghost has had a bit of an adventure through a gravel trap or the grass, but they're continuing to push on with the lap. We'll see if they're going to be able to improve, as pretty much all of the top 12 now are on an out lap, so getting ready to set that second set of flying laps. Space Ghost managing their way as they reach the tail end of the second sector. Realistically, after you hit the second sector timing line there, you are flat out for all but one braking zone of the entire final sector. So this is where those drivers that are running those lower wings can have a bit of an advantage. It's an area where they're really going to pick up time. In personal testing, I found that I was able to pick up about a 10.5 through the first sector, would lose about a 10th and change in the second sector, and gain about 2/10 in the final sector with low wing setups. But Space Ghost across the line goes on to just a 47.1. 47.010, sorry, 47.10. We'll jump on now with Charlie Chibbles, who is the highest up on the order and is on a flying lap as they come through the long right-hander of Rivage and then flick it into No Name. He's got a car ahead that appears to be on a flying lap. Both Kovacs and Falstax both on flying laps in those Mercedes. It's one of those two. There's yellow flags coming through the Lacombe chicane there. It looks like somebody has lost it, and we will see if Charlie Chibbles is going to catch up to the Mercedes. He's definitely reeling them in, and on a flying lap, they're not obligated to get out of the way. So here they are coming up the final sector, and we'll see if they are going to be able to make a move or if they're going to catch the Mercedes. Quick flick through Blanchimont there, keeping the car flat to the floor, and then find that brake marker right about the 100 meter board into the bus stop. No, they've abandoned that lap. Even though they were pressing on, they've completely abandoned the lap right at the end there. Kovacs and Falstax both putting in times in the mid 44s, 44.1, 44.5, as it looks like Zados has jumped up the timing tower. The next into the 43s, 43.9. Knacktrack on the 43.8 as Coral improves to a 43.5. So just a little bit better that time around. We'll see if we can grab another driver who is on a flying lap. No, Stark is into the pit lane. I think it's going to be the Alpha Tauri is going to be the next. It looks like Nordy's got the rear flashing lights on. We'll jump on D. Lee, putting in the final sector here, flicks it through the bus stop chicane, trying to get the traction down, opening up that rear wing for that short run to the line, goes into the mid 44s, 44.7, and puts themselves provisionally P13. We'll see next up across the line is Lazzo. They're going to improve to a 44.164. We'll try and grab another driver on a hot lap. Let's see, Gali is coming down into the Lacombe chicane for the first time. Improved by about 2/10 through the first sector. And now headed down to the long right-hander of Rivage. Understeer City, you can see going wide of the corner there. And you actually, the cloud cover is starting to come in. This track is going to get a little bit darker. 5 minutes left to go in this qualifying session. Dog Renovatio still yet to set a valid lap time on this one. We'll keep an eye on the track map as people start to come across the line. It looks like that white dot of the Haas is pulled into the pit lane. Falstax and Kovacs should be coming into the pit lane as well. There's a blue dot. I believe that might be Lazzo. Could be Space Ghost going for a double push. But no, into the pit lane they go. So they are just all starting to filter into the pit lane. Golly, improving now by 3/10 on through the second sector split. That is going to put them provisionally into the 43.9s. So they could jump up into the top 5 with a strong final sector. Through Blanchimont they go, finding the brake marker for the final chicane. A bumpy braking zone there. You almost have to use the center of the track more than the edges. Here he comes across the line. Does not quite go into the 43s. 44.0, but that goes good enough for P7 on the grid. Next up are a few more drivers coming into the pit lane. We'll see. It looks like Charlie Chibbles is the one on the outlap, so he'll be the first on the grid to go for that next flying lap. So here we go. Charlie Chibbles into turn 1, starting the flying lap. Track temperature certainly dipping down as this cloud cover continues to come in. Doesn't appear there's going to be a rain dropping in this final little bit, but you never know here at the microclimate that is Spa-Francorchamps. Oh, never mind. Nordy retired in the pit lane. Saw yellow flags flash up for a second, but that is Sector 3. That is drivers just retiring in the pit lane. Not confident they're going to set any new lap times. But here comes Charlie Chibbles, just slightly down on their previous best. They have to find about a half a tenth of a second, 600ths to be exact, in order to take that provisional pole away from Spike, who is still in the pit lane, not looking to set another lap time. Charlie Chibbles now down through the middle sector into Puon, looking to flick the car in. And there are drops. I believe those are drops of rain. We'll jump onto the Halo Cam. And yes, there are drops of rain starting to fall. So that's why nobody's going out. Charlie Chibbles, is he going to have the grip in this middle sector to go and complete this lap to try and improve? Pitching it in, open up to pull for it. No, he's lost a tenth of a second. Track conditions definitely deteriorating here, and that could spell the end of this qualifying session. So yes, the rain was indeed coming down, and that should just about set the grid. Stark, the only one out on a flying lap still, as is Renovatio, does have an opportunity to improve. Charlie Chibbles going to just send it right into the pit lane. We'll check up on Stark, who does have a valid lap going. Not ideal. They have improved by about 0.2 of a second, though. So there is an opportunity for them still to cross the line and improve their position. 0.2 would jump them ahead of Latzo into P8. If they can find another tenth or so, they might be able to get into the top 7 ahead of Gali, as more drivers are retiring in the pit lane. But here comes Stark down into the bus stop chicane, trying and getting the car slowed down in this dampening conditions. It hasn't gotten super wet, as there's a car off to the left there. Stark going to cross the line, does not improve, loses a full second in that final sector. We'll check in with not Renovatio. That says it's Renovatio, but it is absolutely not, because Renovatio is in a Red Bull. There he is. Invalidated lap time. It's going to take quite a hustle to get around in order to set another lap time. They still, have yet to set a valid lap. Dog is just now leaving the pit lane on a set of soft tires. I don't think they're going to quite have the time to make it for a final flying lap. It's about 1:45 at full, quali trim, about closer to 1:50 on the out lap. And there are yellow flags in all sectors now, as we just kind of wait for the clock to run out in this one. So Renovatio ahead of a car. It looks like going rather slowly, not getting out of the way, but they both appear to be on cooldown laps. That is going to be one of the Williams that might be going for a fast. I believe that is Space Ghost is on an out lap, trying to pelt it around, as the yellow flags in the sectors are keeping the timing screen, or the countdown clock, away from me. Space Ghost does appear to be getting in a lap just before the checkered flag starts waving. So they are going to start a flying lap. Down into turn 1 they go. They are looking to improve on a 46.457. But we will have to see what kind of grip they have available to them. We'll bring up their throttle and brake telemetry, see if they lift into Eau Rouge. Yes, big lift and a brake tap to keep the car settled. So that is going to be very difficult to improve, as the checkered flag is now flying. Knack Truck across the line. Elliott across the line. The only driver on a valid flying lap at the moment. 3 drivers, actually. 2 drivers, because Space Ghost has invalidated. So no more valid flying lap for Space Ghost. We'll jump to Dog, who is on a valid lap. DRS has been disabled, though, with the rain coming down. Dog just trying to set a lap. Still does not have one valid at this stage. Now, Space Ghost has retired from the session now. Looks to have just pulled the car aside. Not supposed to retire on track like that. Shame, shame, shame. Now, Dog coming into the final chicane on those less than ideal soft tires. Just going to get the throttle down. They are going to set a lap time, and it is actually going to outpace Kane. So we'll move them up into 16th. So as it goes here, pole position goes to Spike, followed by Charlie Chibbles. Coral takes up P3, Knack Track in 4th, and Elliott in 5th. Dr. Zados and Gali make up the next row of the grid here. Incorrect. Gali and Lazzo make up the next row because it's odd even. Stark in P9 and False Tax rounding out the top 10, though just ahead of their teammate Kovacs in the other Mercedes. Nordy is in P12 with Dealey 13th. Blackbird is in 14th. Space Ghost in 15th. Dog 16th. Kane in 17th. Renovatio did not set a valid lap time. And Tez in the McLaren was DSQ'd early on, spinning at the pit exit. I should probably take the speedometer display off the screen while we're looking at that, because it's not going to give us any information, and these are new things that I'm playing around with. But now we should have the broadcast formation lap on, so we're probably going to hear Crofty start waffling on about things. People have immediately readied up, so giving no time for anybody to set any kind of strategies, which is what you love to see. Maybe we need people to actually do that. Unfortunately, I cannot see whose fault it is. Otherwise, they would be in likely subject to some kind of penalties. But about 2 seconds, as you can see, left to go before drivers form up on the grid and we start loading in. We will take a look and see as the drivers pull away, and Crofty is going to make noise. So what I'm going to do, I am going to silence Crofty for a minute, so you guys don't have to hear him speak and we don't get hit by potentially a copyright strike. Maybe, I don't know if that's a thing. But it looks like on the starting tires, you got Spike in P1, Charlie Chibbles on the mediums as well, and they've taken away the screens. The two-stop pretty much not a valid choice in this one. Only 22 laps around the track, and of course, the pit loss is significant enough that you're really not going to make that up. And now we'll bring the game audio back online as the drivers start to form up on the grid. So we'll see, it looks like there's some soft compound tires on the McLaren there, but mediums on the other front three. Some hard tires in the mix there as the rest of the cars get formed up on the back of the grid, and we get ready to take control of the controls once again. So it gets put back in the hand of their drivers. Here comes the 5 red lights up and away. We're waiting for them to disappear, and away they go. Looks like a decent start from Spike on the inside. Charlie Chibble is going to have to work his way around the outside, big and wide in the back there. We'll see if anybody is in any kind of trouble for this one. So looks like a few drivers getting shuffled down the order as there are yellow flags, and Charlie Chibbles has actually taken the lead of this race away from Spike Dealey, and Space Ghost dropping down further off, although nothing more than a 3-position change. Spike now attacking back at Charlie Chibbles, just seems to have the straight line advantage. 202 miles an hour into the braking zone. Leave space for Chibbles on these. Chibbles, though, much braver on the brakes. That is one thing. You are going to gain some straight line speed with that lower wing. However, that extra bit of downforce pressing the car into the tarmac will give you a little bit more grip on this one. So you do have a bit better braking performance. We'll take a look at the weather report that is coming up. It looks like there is a small chance of rain in the middle of the race here, although it's supposed to then brighten back up. So we will see how the drivers can handle that one. We'll keep an eye as there is some dicing back through Puan. It looks like D. Lee has lost the car through the high-speed corners there. And we'll see as there is a battle going on just inside the points there as Lazzo looking to make a move on Kovacs down into Stavilo and out of Paul Frere there. We will see in this final sector, this is where those straight line speed advantages can really come into play. It looks like Coral closing on the back of Zados according to the timing tower. We'll see if he's going to make a move down into the bus stop chicane. He's got the soft tires, so he's going to have to make some kind of strategy work. Knack Track gone very deep in the background there. Looks like Elliott has got the easy switchback, and Charlie Chibbles, of course, leading the first lap, sets the fast lap. That is going to drop Knack Track behind Stark and Elliott. So 2 positions lost by going deep. Kovacs now up into 8th place. Oh, that is Zados, who has gone a bit wide there on the exit, although he should be able to settle in. Oh, Renovatio is out. Renovatio has lost the car, looks like going into the pit lane, as Gali and Kane appear to be staying in the pits. No, Kane stays out. Gali and D. Lee both into the pit lane. So up at the front there, Charlie Chibbles leads from Spike. Dr. Zados now in that P3 position, although being pressured by Coral. Elliott carrying some really good straight line speed as a full safety car has now been called. So a lot of action going at the start of this one. And we will see what people opt to do. Soft tires really cross over with the mediums in overall pace about 3 laps into the race. The mediums can go about 10 laps if you really are stretching them, 11 at the most. Hards, if you really stretch, can go about 15 before they hit that puncture territory. Although they really start to lose some pace. All the tires do have pretty big drop-offs in the final 2 laps of their expected life. But Charlie Chibbles out in front from Spike. Dr. Zados in a good position in 3rd. Coral in 4th. Elliott in 5th. Stark with the low wing setup in 6th. Naktrack in 7th. Kovacs ahead of Latzo, and False Tax puts 2 Mercedes in the points at the moment. The only retirement now, Renovatio. So as we wait for everybody to come around and get near the pit lane, we will see if anybody is going to gamble and make a change of tire choice on this one. So as we approach the pit lane, let's see, has anybody dived in? Yes, so Coral has come into the pit lane. Looks like Naktrack has also opted. Charlie Chibbles, Spike, Zados, Elliott, all staying out. So Coral, Naktrack, Dog, and Blackbird so far, the only ones to blink into the pit lane. You see, as Coral is getting off of those soft compound tires onto the hards now. Little bit of a hold up while they had to be released as another car was coming through. We'll see if Kane is going to opt for the pit lane. It looks like Kane has stayed out. And Gully, who has already made a pit stop from damage, is going to also stay out. You'll see they should shuffle ahead of Blackbird. Dog just coming out of the pit lanes in the back there ahead of Kane. So just about getting up to speed. So we now wait for the rest of the pack to catch up. D-Lee, it's got some ground to make up, is staying out though, so should be able to get closed right up onto the back of the grid. Well, it looks like Kane has lost it coming through Eau Rouge and Radion. On the cold tires, no need to push under safety car conditions. That's lost them a position just out of carelessness, and that is unfortunate. So they're going to drop down a little bit further. You can see from the movers, Charlie Chibbles and Spike swapping positions at the start. Coral, the big drop, although they have taken a pit stop, as has Naktrack and Gali. Zados up 3 spots, Elliott up 1, Stark up 4, Kovacs up 5. Tez, a big gainer from the back of the grid, DSQ up to P8 now. So the top 11 on the field still have yet to make any kind of pit stop at the start of this one. 19 laps to go in this Belgian Grand Prix PC Division R. Definitely a test bed for a lot of these drivers to see what kind of strategies work. I don't think Coral was likely particularly very happy on the soft compound tires. Gully onto the softs themselves. So after taking that early damage, has gone to the soft tires. That is going to certainly cost them at least one more green flag pit stop. Elliott looks to have lost the car. Elliott dropping down the order. I'm trying to catch him, but he's dropping down the order so fast I can't even find it. Elliott is in the wall. Elliott has lost the car and is in the wall out of Paul Frere there. Is he got any kind of damage on the front wing there? He is missing an end plate on that right side. So he is likely going to have to take his medicine and come in for some damage. Now, while I was searching for that, I did not see if the safety car would be in this lap. It's still out, so I'm going to assume it's got one more lap under safety car conditions. That is good news for Elliott, who has the opportunity to come in, make that change as Tez comes into the pit lane as well. So Elliott pushing on into the pit lane. Luckily, this long lap here around Spa, Elliott should be able to come in, make that pit stop change, and get that new front wing. And oh, that is Tez making his tire change as well. He's got a new front wing going on as well, so both of them damaged. But by the time they come out of the pit lanes, they should be able to cycle around, catch the pack up, and have some relatively fresh tires to go as well. So 2 drivers making mistakes under the yellow flag condition. Kane is out. Kane has lost the car and is out of this session. Coming up, Eau Rouge and Ratty on there. It's parked on the side, so let's see if we can get a view of where that car is in the right side barriers. So just absolutely lost it. No need to push so hard over the top of the hill there. That is just an easy mistake, an avoidable mistake on that one. Now that car is already cleared, so I would estimate that we should be back to green flag racing this time around, as Tez and Elliott are already nearly caught up to the safety car queue. Of course, tire warm-up going to be an issue for these drivers, making sure they get the tires into the operating window before they get back to full racing speed. Charlie Chibbles, the de facto safety car, once it gets called in, going to have to manage the pace of everyone down that long back straight. And then wait for their best opportunity to go. Now, very short pit straight, so not a lot of opportunity, unlike last week in Spain, where you wanted to try and build that gap and not give an opportunity for somebody to slipstream you down into turn one. Likely best option is to wait until you have the best traction out of the bus stop chicane and then try and build it out of turn one. Safety car is in this lap, so those lights turn off and it dashes away from the field. Charlie Chibbles leading the field away. We will bring up their throttle and brake traces, so we will get a good idea of when they have decided to go full send and restart this race. So holding at a nice steady 150, 160 kilometers an hour as the safety car gets away, weaving to get some temperature into those tires. The entire field nice and bunched up in this one. So Charlie Chibbles got some work to do to get away from Spike, both on the same age, same compound of tires. And now here we are, waiting to see, does Chibbles goes, slowing down for the final chicane, has not yet put their foot down, and there they go, away they are. So full throttle goes Chibbles down into turn one. And we will see what kind of gap they can build before Spike tries to catch them up. So we'll jump on and take a look as Charlie Chibbles is just ahead of Spike in P2. Current gap seems to be a little bit off between the two, as it looks like some people have not yet set their names. So there's a graphic that we've still got some work to do on, apparently. We'll see if it makes an adjustment moving back. Yeah, it seems to be a little bit short of the actual times, but more things are coming. More things being tested here in PC Division R. But up at the front, you have Charlie Chibbles leading from Spike. It looks like Dog has slipped behind Blackbird there as Coral is up into P10 towards the backfield. Naktrack fighting away with Space Ghost has gotten down the inside into Rivage. That door was open, and through goes Naktrack. Next closest battle on track, Tez and D. Lee dicing it up through Rivage, but we do have Kovacs in position to try and attack as Coral now sneaks past Space Ghost. So Space Ghost is falling down through the field. Kovacs, though, on the tail end of Stark. Of course, Stark, we know, is running that lower downforce setup, so it's going to be quite the chore to catch in a straight line. Spike nearly dropping out of that DRS range already. Charlie Chibbles has gotten off to a very good restart and is secured the lead of this race, although down the back straight, Spike is already just chewing it. So Spike seems to be running much, much lower downforce than Charlie Chibbles. It was a second as they came out of Paul Frere, only half a second now as they enter the bus stop chicane. So straight line speed going to be crucial. It might be a situation where Spike is going to have a chance. As False Tax has dropped it out of Blanchimont, it looks like they are moving once again, but they have lost it. We'll keep an eye on this battle up front between Spike and Charlie Chibbles. As they seem to show very, very good straight line speed in this one. So half a second, the margin. Zados, 3-second time penalty for multiple track limits warnings. And now with the slipstream, with the ERS, no DRS yet with the safety car. 3 laps until it gets restarted. Stark has made their way past Zados behind using the straight line speed, but it's going to be battling it out as they are very tight to each other still. And that is going to give Stark an opportunity to run away and try and build a little bit of a gap. False Tax picking up the next track limits penalties. Coral and trying to make some move. Kovacs fighting back at Zados there, and is going to sneak through Zados, just tumbling down the order now after picking up that track limit warning. Did they go off track? Did they collect a little bit of a touch of a barrier? We didn't get a chance to see it. We'll come down a little further down as there's a tight battle here for the final points paying positions. P9, P10, P11. You have Space Ghost, Blackbird, Elliot separated by about 4/10, less than a half a second. And now Dog is getting involved here. Blackbird's got a very good run out of Puon there ahead of Space Ghost down into the chicane. He's gone a little bit deep, and oh, back end lost for Elliot. Another touch of the barriers, more damage as he's putting his foot down and trying to rejoin the race, and is unfortunately going to have some damage. Once again, just a little bit over-eager on that right foot. Next up, it looks like we've got Dog making a move towards Blackbird and is also being under attack by Tez. Through Blanchimont they go. You got to kind of sort it out. Very hard to go side by side. DRS now enabled as Elliot is out of this session. His looks to have retired on the track there. And that is going to be a safety car. Another full safety car is going to be called for this one. See the yellow dot coming out of the pits as the entire track map goes yellow. So back to racing we went, and now back to safety cars we go. Now, looks like False Tax and Tez were both in a very good position to make the pit stop. They're able to come in right away and make that stop. Of course, you've got to wait for the race leader to come all the way back around to get picked up by the safety car. You'll have to take a look and see who is going to take the next opportunity. So 7 laps into this 22-lap race, about 15 to go in this one. Is just about on the border of what you need that you can get a set of hard tires all the way to the end. So we will see those top 6, all still on the medium compound tire. Obviously, Coral, Knack Track, Space Ghost, Blackbird, Dog, Dealey already on the hard compound tires with some age in them. So they're going to be essentially stuck onto a 2-stop the rest of the way. Those on the medium tires out at the front have the opportunity now to set up that set of hard tires and go to the end. Gali is in an interesting position, although fairly far off the pack right now. With only 1 lap of life on those hard compound tires, it is possible with some safety car laps to get those to the end. So there is a chance, and Tez picking up a penalty for speeding under the safety car. That Delta still active as the leaders have not yet been picked up, as they are now actually approaching the bus stop chicane. We will check in with Charlie Chibbles, who does come into the pit lane. So they are in. You'll see it looks like Spike, Stark all have opted for it. Yep, Kovacs is in. Knacktrack stays out. Coral stays out. Of course, they need to. So it is those top 6 that are on the medium tires. They're going to be able to go onto the hard tires and go to the end of this race. So they are in a decent little bit of catbird seat here, as Knacktrack, Coral, Space Ghost, Blackbird all going to have to make another pit stop. Space Ghost has actually yet to make a single stop. So they are still nailed on for the potential 1-stop strategy. But this pack here is essentially your net lead of the race. Tez is out. Tez has DNF'd and retired in the pit lane, so has apparently had enough with that penalty. And you have, behind the safety car, Knack Track, leading from Coral, Space Ghost, Blackbird, Dog, and D. Lee. Charlie Chibbles leads the net lead of the race, essentially, unless that top 6 can really streak away and build a pit stop gap. Charlie Chibbles in the net lead of the race ahead of Spike, Dr. Zados, Kovacs, Latzo, and Stark. And of course, you've got False Tax, Gully, and Nordy, who are going to have some interesting strategy choices to make. Gully, I believe, can get to the end with these few laps of safety car that they've gone under. I see there's some notes that the game audio is a little choppy. As far as what I can hear in my ears from the game, it is smooth on my end, so it is likely something to do with the stream and not the game that is causing the choppiness. I am recording as well as, obviously, Twitch will save the stream, but I am recording it to the PC as well. So when it goes up onto the YouTube channel later, instead of the compressed bit rated down version that you guys see on through Twitch, it's actually going to be the source side of OBS. So it should be a little less compression and better audio quality as well. So we're trying that out for today and this week, since I am broadcasting a few of the divisions on PC. So we'll see. And I have AWD, who is broadcasting Xbox and PlayStation, going to be saving the source side as well. So definitely some opportunities for a little bit better quality. Looks like we got one more race under safety car. I'm being told in the ear to check. See what the yeah, I'll take a look at the game settings. I don't believe the game settings will make too much difference on the audio, just because it's source side. It's all good. And I haven't had any issues there. I will turn it down. But as far as source side, the audio simulation has been fine. So I do believe it is just an OBS issue. We'll try it out for the rest of this race. Since we're testing new graphics, we're testing formation lap and that sort of thing. So we'll test a bunch of things today. So we get ready to come through No Name and up towards Puan. We will see. It looks like the entire field has indeed bunched back up. We should be back under racing conditions relatively shortly here. Now see, Cruzo, I have Crofty set instead of Jake's because I never personally use broadcast. I always used immersive, so I never even bothered to change that setting. So that is why that setting is that way. And of course I mute him. So here we are, safety car in this lap. Knack leading from Coral. Once again, we will get their telemetry up on the screen, as it takes just a split second for it to come up to pace as the safety car sprints away from the field. And we wait for Knack to get underway. Okay, seems like sound better, so good. I will leave it as such then. As far as what's in my ear, it doesn't sound too much different, so I'm not concerned about the source side quality. So we come down through Blanchimont, just waiting for Knack to go, and Knack gone already. They're going to go ahead and try and make some gap under braking into the bus stop. Oh, they've gone deep, though. That's really going to catch them out. Coral all over the gearbox now as they come down into turn one. It looks like Knack gotten a little better launch off of the final corner there as Coral closes up to the back into turn one. Clouds are coming in. I don't believe we are scheduled for any kind of actual rain. It looks like we are hitting about the peak level of cloud cover, peak rain chance, 22% at the moment, but it's going to start falling off once again. So we are 10 laps into this 22 lap race, and Knack has got Coral all over the gearbox as there is a battle for the net lead going on. Charlie Chibbles has made their way past D-Lee, so has Spike. We'll see at the actual lead, Knack closing off Coral. Will jump back now. See as they head down into the corner, it's actually Spike taking the lead, net lead from Charlie Chibbles. Kovacs making their way past Dr. Zados as they fight off through the middle there. It looks like Spike now losing the position back to Charlie Chibbles around the outside. So good scrapping between these two for what is the net lead of this race coming down. Going to take a short breather as we get ready to head into Puan. Kovacs, also known as Cavino. It is Cavino, I can confirm that. I just keep reading the name, and I'll keep saying it as Kovacs because of that. Making a run on D-Lee, but not quite in position to make the overtake just yet. Now he's going to try and have a look. Tries to go around the outside. Not quite enough there as Charlie Chibbles is now closing up to Space Ghost through Paul Frere here. They're getting the throttle down. We'll jump back ahead. Charlie Chibbles gets the exit. Space Ghost moving out of the way. Not really the fight that he's involved with, although coming back seems to have that lower downforce into Blanchimont. Side by side they go. Elliott going to try and stick around the outside, swings around the outside. Spike goes well off track there, has to tuck back in, and now Charlie Chibbles going to have the opportunity to try and make it. Space Ghost goes a little bit deep into the chicane as Latzo and Stark dropping down the order into the chicane there has lost a ton of ground as Knacktrack still trying to run away from Coral. It looks like they're about nip and tuck on the straights here as we see Falstax running, or Zados running off the track there, trying to get back on ahead of Falstax, although Stark is going to sneak their way through as well. Should be one more lap before DRS is enabled. Spike has gotten a very good run off the corner compared to Space Ghost. Is going to stream on by. Space Ghost looks to go defensive for a second, picking up a bit of that slipstream from Spike as Kovacs goes to the inside, takes the racing line, and now Stark making their move side by side with Falstax. A little bit of contact between the two, wheel banging as they switch it back through Bruxelles, and now down. Stark has the inside, but Falstax has the nose ahead. Can Stark keep it tight to the apex? Doesn't understeer wide as they battle their way through, and it looks like they're going to continue to fight through. No Name Stark on the outside. Can he get the throttle down? No. Falstax has the inside line, a little bit better exit, and is going to have the inside for Puon. Side by side they go. Plenty of space left between those two. Excellent racing as Falstax still has the nose ahead. It's going to switch back to the inside for Stark as they break now into this next chicane. Falstax, though, slots straight ahead, and after a battle of about 6 corners, manages to take that position, and they get ready to do it all over again. D. Lee is closing up on the back of Space Ghost. Only about 3/10 of the margin between those two. Stark, once again, closing up on Falstax. I think we're going to have to jump back to that. We'll see how they manage through Blanchimont. That's where the momentum's going to be carried. We'll jump to Stark. He's right on the back in the slipstream, coming to the inside. Falstax defending a little bit. DRS now enabled as they catch up with, looks like D. Lee has gone very slowly. As my throat is getting completely dry. Latzo now, 3 wide as they're, are they going to go 3 wide into turn 1? No. D. Lee backs out rather sensibly. Stark, a big snap of wheel spin, trying to get the throttle down. Oh, there's been contact. There's a bit of carbon fiber bouncing down the road there as somebody has lost a bit of their end plate. We'll jump up now. Charlie Chibbles, Dog, Spike, the 3 here. Net lead of the race in the balance. DRS open. Dog, though, very quick on the straight. Really not letting them close down. Falstax making their way past Space Ghost. Further down, is Stark going to get through? We'll check up on this battle as Space Ghost is on the back of Falstax. Yellow flags through Sector 1 as Latzo dropping down the order. And looks like D. Lee has gotten tangled up as well, as has Cavino. So 3 drivers look to have gotten a little bit wrong-footed into Lake Combe there. They're going once again. Might be some of the damage we saw, as it looks like Charlie Chibbles now really looking to attack on Dog. Only 2/10 the gap between the two. He's going to try and carry some speed through this chicane, get the run on Puffer, because if he can clear Dog and leave Spike a little bit in the dust and held back, as looks like D. Lee has lost it through Puon. That's the yellow flags we see there. Not sure. It doesn't look like he's made it all the way to the barriers. We'll keep an eye on that dot to see if it keeps moving. But Charlie Chibbles, a very good run. The Dog, a bit of traction and might have a lower wing. Even tucked into the slipstream, Charlie Chibbles losing time to Dog up ahead. There's another yellow flag of Nordy, so the Alpha Tower is really having a nightmare of a couple of laps there as they've dropped all the way towards the back of the field. Several spin-outs have cost them. Knacktrack has got that 1 second margin on Coral, so he's relatively safe. And now Charlie Chibbles going to try and attack Dog, who I'm sure at this stage is almost certainly running that 0-0 wing strat, because even with DRS, or I mean even with the slipstream, Charlie Chibbles not making a lot of ground. However, DRS plus ERS. Spike picking up a track limits penalty has gone a bit wide, even though he's got the run and the momentum on Charlie Chibbles. Charlie Chibbles going to the inside of Dog. Oh, this is going to be tight as they all 3 go in. Charlie Chibbles and Spike through. Dog looking to get the cut back, but it looks like Spike manages to not get held up at all in that fight. Now, of course, Knacktrack and Coral, 10 laps on their hard compound tires. At this stage, they're in about the window where the medium tire can get them to the end of the race. Coral should have a set of mediums available since they started on the soft compound tires. Knacktrack, I believe, has a couple laps spent on those medium tires. So It's going to potentially... Oh, and the back end gets around on Dog. He's lost it through Puan. He's got to get that car moving as there's about to be a train of cars coming firing through the Ferrari of Stark. False Tax, Lazzo, all slinking right through. Space Ghost is going to have the momentum to get through as well, as the Dog goes from battling with those top three and make it. So we'll check up on Coral, who's now 2.1 seconds off the back of Knack so well off the tail end. We'll keep an eye as it looks like Spike is actually starting to close up on Charlie Chibbles. No help of DRS in front. False Tax is out. False Tax is retired from the session. It looks like they've lost it through the exit of Paul Ferrer. We'll keep an eye. We'll try and grab the next driver coming through to see if we can get an eye. And that is another full safety car. And yes, they've lost it. The rear corner of that car completely busted off. Dealey just about avoiding it. And now we will see Lazzo into the pit lane. It's just in the window that Knack and Coral could need to get a cheap pit stop. As far as the leader gap, though, they're going to come out right around where Stark is. And anybody that's still got some medium tires left might take the punt and go for it. So Dealey into the pit lane. This safety car does not help out Spike. 3 seconds of time penalties for them. So there's definitely going to be a bit of an issue once that gets going again. Dr. Zados and Dealey carrying the other 3-second time penalties. Tez had the only other time penalty of the race, that 5 seconds for speeding under the safety car delta, but with that retirement, does not matter. I realize now that I have left that speedometer on display the whole time. I'm still learning how to turn that stuff on and off and pay attention because it shows on the OBS screen. It doesn't obviously show on the game screen, which is what I am primarily looking at. So forgive the mistakes there, but it looks like the lead pack is just about hitting the final sector. So we'll keep an eye. There's about a 12-second gap back to Stark. 13 seconds or so. And we will see. It's with 8 laps left to go in this one. I would say, and already 10 laps of life on those tires. I would say it's 11 laps, nigh impossible for those hard tires to make it. They will certainly get into that puncture territory. If somebody wants to chance it, maybe. But Knack not chancing it. Knack into the pit lane. Is Coral going to chance it? Coral is also in the pit lane. Charlie Chibbles takes the net lead of the race as expected with their younger hard tires. Spike is actually into the pit lane, so Spike taking the bit of a penalty. They should have plenty of daylight to the Lazzo behind, so they're only losing about 2 positions. Let's see. Coral is on to a set of soft tires. Knack on softs. That's a long run for the soft tires. Soft tires really start to lose their pace advantage after about 3 laps. They start to get into puncture territory after about 5. So with 7 laps left to go in this one, it's just about on the edge, I would say, of life. Obviously, it depends on the downforce levels. A lot of the testing I did was with very low downforce. So that does scrub the tires a bit on these high-speed corners. Takes a little bit of extra life and deg out of them. So Knack going to have to get the jump on Stark and Charlie Chibbles. Stark in a very good position, actually, now that I think about it. With that good straight line speed ahead of this pack. We'll actually see they've moved up 7 positions. So Charlie Chibbles up just the 1 spot ahead of former pole sitter Spike. Stark up 7 positions. Knack and Coral have done a swaparoo, exchanging P3s and P4s. Spike, of course, with that extra pit stop down into 4th. The other big gainers, Space Ghost and Dog, both up 8 positions in this one into the points-paying positions. Zados has had a tough day, the biggest dropping down the field of 8 spots. I'm going to take a moment while they do their safety car laps to take a drink so my throat does not die. Okay. The whistle has been whetted a little bit. We're still under safety car conditions as we cross the Sector 2 split, as the field is still relatively spread out. And take a look and see everybody's made at least 1 stop. So as far as the requisite stops are concerned, they are done for everybody. But it's going to be an interesting fight. Space Ghost is in a decent position on those young medium tires. If they can hang on to the soft tire group ahead of them, those soft tires switch over pace-wise with the mediums about 3 or 4 laps into the session. They really degrade very, very quickly. So if they can just hang on to the back of this group, they could be looking at a top 5 finish. I think overall pace-wise, it may be difficult to overtake Coral. Spike, of course, is going to have the chance of dropping down the field because of their 3-second time penalty with so few laps left to go. Gali, interestingly, taking a pit stop now, as we are going to be on lap 17, so we're going to have about 5 flying laps to go in this one. So the soft tire runners going to be in an interesting spot. Gali goes for those soft compound tires. So they are going to have that at least 1 lap less of degradation. Because even at formation lap speeds, you lose about 10% of your, almost 10% of your tire life on a soft compound tires. So definitely an interesting choice to be made on this one. And hopefully we don't lose anybody else under safety car. As the cold tires have made for some mistakes. Gali should be able to catch up the pack on this one. It's going to have those nice piping hot soft tires, but has some work to do to make some overtakes with so few laps left to go in this one. Charlie Chibbles leads from Stark, using that strategy choice to get up into P2. Knack Track in 3rd. Coral right behind in 4th. Spike in 5th at the moment, but that 3-second time penalty could cause problems with Lazzo behind on those also similar soft compound tires. Space Ghost, P7 ahead of Dog and Blackbird for 8th and 9th. And the AlphaTauri of D. Lee, who has spent some time this race facing the wrong way, still finds themselves in a points-paying position, with their teammate Nordy just knocking on the door. We've lost 5 runners. Renovatio was first, Kane under safety car Elliott, then Tez and False Tax are 5 retirements. The safety car is in this lap, and we will now catch up with none other than Charlie Chibbles out front. And we'll keep an eye on when they decide to go. We'll bring up the speedometer graphic. We'll make sure to turn it off at some point. I will remember to do that, I promise. As we just wait to see when Charlie Chibbles is going to bolt. You can see the sun getting brighter. We've essentially made our way through the threat of rain. Track temperature is going to start rising up just a little bit more. As we wait, and yes, Charlie Chibbles has gone full throttle down to the bus stop chicane. It looks like Stark has reacted well. He's gone deep, though. Stark very deep into the bus stop chicane. That is going to put him at pressure of Knack Track and Coral, who are on those soft tires. Look at the extra launch they're able to get out of that corner. Down into turn 1. Stark goes defensive to the inside. Knack Track trying to sweep around the outside. Use extra. Oh, and there's contact as Coral went a little deep. Knack Track trying to back. Oh, and Lasso's... No, that's Spike around. Spike has damage. Spike has gotten spun around as... Looked like Knack Track tried to kind of cut back underneath Stark right as Coral was arriving, and that is going to put Lazzo in a good position. Space Ghost up into the top 5. Charlie Chibbles has opened up a 1-second gap on Stark there, and we will keep an eye as Knack Track still maintaining that pace differential to or staying inside the DRS range of Stark. And oh, a good launch out of that corner. Once again, Stark having to be very, very defensive. Knack Track sweeping around the outside on those soft tires. Is Stark going to be just about squeezing him out? Yes. Holds the position as they head down into No Name and further down into Puan. Knack Track has to strike while the iron is hot. He's losing ground behind Stark to Charlie Chibbles in the race lead. Coral has made their way on those soft tires past Space Ghost a little bit further down. Looks like D. Lee is actually going to make another position up. No. Swapping back and forth with Cavino now. Tire differential between the two, not quite there. We'll get back up to the battle between Stark and Knack Track. Stark defending for his life, and now he just needs to get through this corner at good speed as Knack Track has so much extra grip, but Stark going to have that straight line speed advantage. We'll see all the way up to 330 kilometers an hour for Knack Track behind Stark. Stark Lost a little bit of ground. Defensive to the inside of the bus stop chicane. Hard on the brakes. Oh, there's contact between the two. It looks like Stark may have understeered just a little bit wide. Zados has gotten a 10-second instant track limits penalty, I'm sure, for cutting the chicane there, and that has cost Knacktrack the position to Latzo, who is going to be the next to attack Stark. One more lap before we get that DRS enabled. It'll be on the next lap, as Stark is going to have to try and battle away from these cars behind. Coral is closing up on Dog. We'll keep an eye on the timings there, as it looks like they're just about even into turn one. Should be very close. Blackbird and Cavino switching over. Coral, he's going to go for the send. Lunges, just about backs out in time. That was almost a massive crash there. Coral trying to use the extra grip of those soft tires at the last second, as looks like, is that a D. Lee that is around once again. Space Ghost has also gotten tangled up, so it looks like two drivers have gotten tangled in this one. D. Lee drops to the back of the field as Gali is falling off the pace. Has Gali gone around? Looks like Gali has lost it into Bruxelles. May have gotten caught up in that incident, as they were a few seconds behind, but no front wing at all for them. We're going to jump back to this front pack as Knacktrack on the back of Latzo, defending Stark in a way, even though they're trying to get their attack on their own. No time penalties for the top 7 drivers in this one. Charlie Chibbles opening up almost a 5-second gap as Knacktrack tries to get by Latzo to get back in the attacking position. Knacktrack was able to use those soft tires in a much better condition. We'll get the track, the lap times. We'll see how they're doing compared to their best lap to see how those soft tires are managing. Actually, scratch that. Best lap is going to be a little bit bugged. Oh, big wheel spin as they come out of that final corner. That's going to cost them time, but I realize that their comparison to best lap is going to be very buggy because of that short lap time bug that's going on. So, not relevant information at the time. Latzo, though, with the DRS now enabled inside the range of Stark, are they going to be able to make the move for P2? Only 3 laps left to go in this one. You see little puffs of dust as the plank hits the floor, bottoming out through Rouge and Radion. It looks like Stark has managed to carry some good speed. It sounded like Latzo had a slight lift through the corner there. It's closing. It's going to be close enough to make the send. No, not quite close enough. Was able to make a good impression, but not enough to actually make an overtake. It looks like Blackbird all over Space goes side by side. They go trying to sneak their way through as Gully and Dealey taking another pit stop to get those front wings changed. And I believe Nordy is amongst them as well. So a double stack for Alpha Tauri, costing them time. Soft tire runners likely in trouble at this stage, as Latzo's still hanging on to the back of Stark a little bit, but those soft tires really 5 laps into their life, just about done with what they can offer. Charlie Chibbles 5 seconds clear. We'll keep an eye on this battle, as it is the closest battle on track at the moment. Coral picking up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That's going to drop them behind Cavino and is really going to hurt their shot, even if they can make their way past Dog. Although Dog, again, seems to be just an absolute rocket in a straight line. Seems to be running that very low downforce. Latzo closing up on Stark through the slow corners, but Stark once again extending out of that final corner. Yellow flags in the final sector, and Knacktrack has lost it. Knacktrack has gone around and has broken his front wing entirely, and he's already passed the pit entry. He's got an entire lap to do with no front wing, and that is curtain. So Stark in position. He's got a driver with cooked soft tires behind him. 0.6 the gap as they cross the DRS line. Let's see what kind of impression Latzo can make. We'll bring up the speedometer, see just how fast they are going to be going. 340 kilometers an hour nearly before they hit the brakes down into the Lake Home chicane. Now just having to manage their way through. Dog is dicing it up with Coral. Coral, though, with that 3-second time penalty, likely not to maintain the position. Dog sweeping to the outside as Coral looks up the inside. And that is going to keep them from making any kind of impression. Stark actually made a little bit of time on Charlie Chibbles, although I'm sure Charlie Chibbles is in bring it home mode at this stage, as Coral and Dog are your closest battle on track at the moment. Just nip and tuck with the battle between Stark and Latzo for that second place. Although, unless Dog can make a big impression on Latzo, if Latzo's tires are going to fall completely off, which is not out of the question, we should have about the podium places sorted. But let's see what Dog is able to do in the final 2 laps of this one. Latzo nearly a second off the back of Stark. Should make up a little bit of ground into the bus stop chicane area here, just with that extra bit of downforce. But yeah, it makes a good half second nearly on acceleration. But the key is how they can do out of the final corner. And they've got a good run. They're closer. They're closer than they were before. We'll bring up and see how are they able to keep their foot flat to the floor with these old tires? No, it's big lift over through Radion, and that's really costing them a ton of time. Loses 3/10 up over the top of Radion, even though Stark doesn't have the same downforce level that Latzo has. Latzo just doesn't have the tire grip, as it looks like Coral has made their way past Dog, and they have in the background there. So Stark able to just hang on with those hard compound tires. Dog not making the impression on Latzo and not even making the impression on Coral, even though you would expect that Dog's tires should be in significantly better shape than what Coral is currently carrying. Yellow flag in the second sector. That is through Rivage, and it looks like another stopped Alpine. That is Spike, who has just had a tough run at this one. Got caught up in that incident at the restart, had the pace it seemed, but had to deal with that 3-second time penalty. Now let's see if Dog is going to be able to re-attack on Coral. They're only about a half a second back. And around goes Latzo. Latzo has lost the car there out of Paul Frere, and looks like the car is still alive, but completely ruined front wing, completely destroyed. That is going to put Space Ghost through. And that is going to really put the pressure on Coral. His Dog is right up the back. DRS enabled on the final lap we go. Is he going to have a look down the inside of turn 1? No. On the brakes they go. Spike another 3-second time penalty. Latzo into the pit lane as necessary with that destroyed front wing. Now, half a second the margin as they're coming. We'll see. Is Dog able to keep their foot flat to the floor over Rouge and Rally? No. Bit of a lift. Still carrying about 300 Ks through that corner. But seems to have the better grip, and now closing. DRS enabled. Slipstream. Where are they going to go? Inside, outside. Coral going to force them to the outside. Coral has got the position held for now. Dog, though, looking to fight. Oh, no, Dog a little bit over eager on the rear wheels. And that is Dog around, and Coral on some absolutely knackered rear soft tires is going to take a podium position. Blackbird and Zados dicing it out now into Lake Home. It looks like Zados just about holding on to those. Zados with 16 seconds of time penalties. So that is a big issue for them. Oh, Zados is around. Drivers losing it at the very end. Blackbird's got some wing damage. Space Ghost is past Cavino. Now 3 seconds of time penalties there. So it just has to make sure to make it. Does Cavino? Oh, Cavino's around once again, and Space Ghost is going to come home with a top 5 finish in spite of driving on a Steam Deck, and in spite of Charlie Chibbles has disconnected from the session. Interesting. So Charlie Chibbles is disconnected. He's under AI control at the moment, which I don't think is set particularly high. However, 4.5 seconds should be just about enough for the AI to quietly bring it home. As Stark is going to come across the line now and take P2. Coral streaking across now into third place. Is going to hold that podium position, making those soft tires somehow make it to the... Cavino is out through Puan, so he's DNF'd from outside the points, though. Space Ghost comes home 4th place ahead of Zados, who is going to cross the line next, but with significant time penalties, he's going to lose positions to Blackbird and Spike, and we will see maybe even Dog. And yes, Dog actually jumps ahead of Spike on the time penalty, so that should be about it for the points-paying positions, as Latzo's got a nice 19-second gap to stroll their way into. Knack Track across the line next. Gali is going to come home P11. and that should bring home Nordy in 12th. We've lost a considerable number of runners today after having the lowest DNF rate in the league last weekend. It's setting up for a quite high one. So Charlie Chibbles takes the race win in the PC Division R Belgian Grand Prix. Stark in second, and Coral rounds out the podium. And Charlie Chibble says his game crashed at the top of Eau Rouge, but the AI was able to limp it around. Space Ghost gets the game's driver of the day. A considerable drive from them. Plenty of positions gained on that one for sure. So a very good drive from them. Now we will wait just as we get ready to go to the end screen as it is loading up, taking a second. And there you have it. Top step of the podium goes to Charlie Chibbles in this PC Division R race. Stark showing that the 0-0 wing strat is one you can play with. Tire wear definitely became an issue in this race. Tire strategy and making the right call on the safety cars is going to be key for the rest of these divisions. Zero wings indeed, just like the 2019 Ferrari at Spa. But here you have it. Charlie Chibbles in the front. Next up, Stark, then Coral, Space Ghost, Blackbird, Dog, Spike, Zados, Lazzo 98. And you have Naktrek, Gali, Nordy, Dealey, Cavino, Falstax, and Tez rounding out the order with a few retirements in this one. We had Dealey and Cavino get classified as they DNF'd on the final lap, so they will be classified as a last lap finish. But Renovatio, Kane, Elliott, Tez, Falstax, all unclassified in this one. DNF did not make the 90% mark. Well, definitely an interesting one. Plenty of safety cars, plenty of shambles as we would grow to expect in this one. Now we'll just have to see how much people have learned from this situation and for their own races over the rest of the course of this race weekend. Rain did not play a factor, although it did hurt in qualifying and threatened during the race. So we may be seeing some rain over the course of this one. But next up, we've got a few more races coming tomorrow. That is the only races running today. Tomorrow on FRS Motorsports, we will be seeing PC Division 1 first off, and then on FRS Community, you will have Xbox Division 1. Those are both at 7 p.m. UTC. Next up, you'll have on Saturday is right here on FRS Motorsports again, PC Division 4, and that will go as soon as PC Division 1 ends, unless there is another delay like we had last week. So it will go on whichever channel is open, so keep an eye out for that. Follow both channels. Then for Sunday on FRS Motorsports, same time, 7 p.m. UTC, FRS Motorsports is PlayStation Division 1. PC Division 3 will be going on FRS Community right around the same time. They do typically have a slight delay to their start time to account for some of the FRS Sim GT drivers. And then the race weekend rounds out right here on FRS Motorsports, PC Division 2 at 8:30 UTC. Thank you all for joining me, and I'll catch you guys next time. Y'all have a great race weekend.